What's up, guys? Welcome to B Sports Picks. So yesterday I gave away 4 different plays in the NBA, two legs, and the thing was that one of them didn't hit because one of the teams just did not come through for us. So 3 of them did hit, one of them didn't, but because it was parlays, one of them lost. So overall, is a 1-on-1 day on the free picks. I'm going to show you the receipts for that. I'm also going to go through a lot of stuff today. So I'm going to go through it very quickly. So take notes or take screenshots, whatever you need to do. I'm going to talk about baseball. I'm going to talk about some testing that I've been doing. I'm going to talk about some stuff that was hitting for us since last season and has been hitting for us already this season inside of baseball. And then I'm also going to show you something called Profit X Exchange. And what this is that it tracks heavy money. So now we're tracking Polymarket, Kalshi, and Profit X. I'm going to show you very quickly just the Profit X stuff and how I'm using that to come up with some strong plays. If you appreciate this stuff, if you like this stuff, make sure you subscribe, hit that like button, and comment. Also share it with a couple of buddies that you know that do the same stuff that you do. All right, like I mentioned, guys, we went 3-1, so it's actually a 1-1 because I parlayed it together. So the Suns, we had them that they could lose, but they couldn't lose by 10. They ended up losing by 14. So that one did not hit for us. I took the Pacers at a plus 24.5. That one hit, but because, like I said, it's a 2-leg parlay, that did not come through. And then this one, I also talked about the Clippers and the Timberwolves. This was too heavy at the money line, so I took it at a minus 4.5. And you can see they pretty much beat the shit out of them. So we got an early payout boost on that one. I'm actually going to hook you guys up with one play in the NBA today. So the overall picture yesterday was 14-8. There's a lot of testing that I'm doing. So a lot of the stuff, it was a break-even day because even though you see the 14-8 number, there's a lot of wins here. There were not good wins, meaning there was not a lot of money made because when I'm testing, I only do $5 or $10. And then once it's proven, then I go up to my regular unit size. For those reasons, even though I had 14 wins and 8 losses yesterday, like I said, a lot of those were testing. I'm not going to bore you with all the details. I'm actually going to show you a bunch of stuff that is working already since last season. But again, this was some stuff that I was testing. So the Pirates, they came through for us. I had a 1 hit right there. I took another 1 hit right there. And then we did something called EV betting. So those 2 hit right there. We did something called stolen bases, have been hitting since last season. I put these out in the VIP. And then we did another test for the Braves, another EV test, some stolen bases over here, and then some live betting stuff here, live betting stuff here. This one I took, like I said, as a test. Another one, I did a live bet over here, another 1 hit. And this one was some NHL stuff, another baseball one, and some other under RBIs that have been hitting since last season. So this is actually before I started recording this video, I actually put out a bunch of plays. So this is all 1 hits. These are all baseball. And then these 2 over here are basketball. So if you want access to all of these, check out the pinned comment. These are all the plays that I threw out this morning, and I'm going to throw out a couple of more because I still have to go through the baseball slate, not the props. The props are already in here. So as you can see, that's a lot of stuff. I'm going to walk through baseball very quickly. You could take a screenshot. You can do your own research. I'm just going to show you what I'm going to be looking at, and then I'm going to get right into basketball. I'm actually going to hook you guys up with one play in the NBA today. So again, I'm not going to go through all these details. I'm just going to show you what this is for baseball. These are the leans. These are the edges. So basically it's saying the Padres have an edge over the other team. The Yankees have a 1.2 run edge over the other team. Atlanta has a 1 point edge over the other team, etc. You can take a look at these. These are for the overs, and these are for the regular leans. This is a reverse line move and stuff like that. So don't quote me on this one. These are just the information that I start with, and then I still have to go and do my research as far as who's pitching, etc. So again, don't quote me on these. This is for baseball today, and then let me get right into basketball now. All right, so for basketball, there's a lot of back-to-backs, meaning Minnesota played yesterday, Milwaukee played yesterday, OKC and the Clippers played yesterday, Dallas and Phoenix both played yesterday. So the rest advantage over here is Detroit and Orlando. I've been talking a lot about the playoff picture, and that's very important. That's when we started winning again, is when we actually started implementing, looking at which teams still need to win, which teams are coasting, and which teams are tanking. Once we started putting all that knowledge together, that's when we started winning again. And that's why it's so important to look at who is powerful and who still wants to win, who's coasting, and who's already tanking. So I'm going to explain what's still going on in the playoff picture. Somebody told me something about Boston yesterday in the comments, which is good because they said that I had mentioned that they were either locked into the number 1 or number 2 seed, which was incorrect. I was not reading my notes. So what I'm going to do today is actually I'm going to go through my notes and you'll see exactly which teams are strong and which teams are weak, etc. Okay. From there, I'm going to give you guys one very strong play that I really like today. So for this team right here, the Hawks and the Cavaliers, they're actually both fighting very hard to win today. The Cleveland is in a seeding race. They still want to get better seeding. And Atlanta is in the play-in bubble. So the win probability for both of these teams is 50-50. It's literally a coin toss on that game. Even though Cavaliers have a 5-point advantage here that they're supposed to win by 5 points, it is a 50-50 game. So let's get into the next one, which is the Pistons and the Bucks. You can see the Bucks are on a back-to-back. Detroit is pretty much a locked-in seed, and that's why they're favored to win by 20. The Bucks literally are just tanking. They're eliminated. They don't care. They got a bunch of injuries, and the Pistons still they're pretty much coasting. So one of the candidates you can do, which I was looking at also, is you can get the Bucks at a +20 or the Bucks at a +30. But in this scenario, it doesn't make sense because of the injuries. So I'm staying away from that game. So again, Milwaukee is eliminated. They're irrelevant. And Detroit is supposed to win this game with a 95% chance. Now, if they're going to cover that spread or not, that's questionable. I'm not going to touch that. I'm just letting you know what it is. Now, for Orlando and the Timberwolves, you can see the Timberwolves are actually on a back-to-back. Magic is supposed to win by 6. And Magic actually have a one-day rest advantage. I actually like the Magic in this position a lot. Orlando is actually still fighting for a play-in spot, and Minnesota is actually also fighting for the seeding battle, meaning that they're trying to get a better seed. So they both actually do care to win today, but the Magic, in my opinion, is a much stronger team. Plus, they are one-day rest advantage, plus they're at home, and the Timberwolves traveled. So all those into consideration. Also, you want to make sure that Anthony Edwards plays for the Timberwolves today, if you're going to be looking at the Timberwolves. Denver and Memphis, you can see over here, Denver and Grizzlies and Nuggets, you can see over here, they're supposed to win by 20. The spread is 20 for the Nuggets. The Nuggets are actually still in the race to get a better seeding, so they're not just coasting right now. And Memphis is tanking. I'm not going to look at it right now, but I know that Memphis has the most injuries out of every team right now. They're pretty much sitting out their entire squad. They got a G League out there. They're eliminated. And Denver has a 96% chance to win this game. So one of the easy things you can do is just take the Nuggets on the money line, take the Pistons on the money line, and then figure something out there if you wanted to look at that. I'm not going to touch that. I'm just letting you know stuff that you can start looking at because they're almost 95% chance they're going to win the games. The one that's very interesting right now is actually the Trailblazers. They started as a heavy underdog, and they're getting closer to the pick'em, which means that they're getting closer and closer to becoming favorites. Now, the scenario is that the Spurs are locked into the number 2 seed, and there's no reason for them to have to fight this hard to break the spread. So what this means is that you can take the spread on the Timberwolves side, buy it back to the original opening line, which I think was like +8.5 or something like that, or you can parlay that with something else. And I'm actually going to give you that. This is actually one of the plays, and I'll explain it once I get there. The reason I'm liking the Trailblazers so much, again, is the Spurs are locked into the number 2 seed. They're going to be sitting out their stars, and the Trailblazers are still fighting for seeding in the playoffs. Last 2 games, guys, I'm going to go very quickly. OKC is locked into the number 1 position. They're going to be sitting out their stars. They're resting. They're coasting. And then the Clippers are actually fighting very hard for seeding. The only problem here is that they're back-to-back. The thing is that luckily the OKC is also on a back-to-back. So the Clippers do have an edge on today's game, especially if you want to take the spread. That's actually one of the other games that I'm looking at to take the spread. So I'll get into those details and show you exactly what I'm taking. The last team I'll talk about is the Suns. They're on a back-to-back. The Mavericks are on a back-to-back. However, the Mavericks are eliminated. They have no reason to fight at all. So the Suns are actually on the bubble. So they're fighting very hard to get into the playoffs or get better positioning, stuff like that. So the Suns, so let me just go very quickly back. Which ones have motivations, which ones do not? The Suns have a lot of motivation to win. Mavericks are eliminated. Clippers have a lot of motivation to win. The Thunder is coasting. The Spurs is coasting, and the Trailblazers are on the bubble. Grizzlies are eliminated, and the Nuggets are still fighting for seeding. The Pistons are locked into the number 1 or number 2 position. I believe number 1, I said. And Bucks are eliminated. And both of these are still playing hard, which is Timberwolves and Magic, but the Timberwolves have a lot of injuries. And then the Hawks and the Cavaliers, they're both fighting very hard to win this game. I'm not going to go too crazy into these details, but the first leg of this is going to be the Clippers. You can see the Clippers started at a plus 7.5. They're currently at a plus 6.5, even though 85% of the bets, 88% of the money, or 86% of the money is coming in on OKC. The line is shifting in the favor of the Clippers. Again, I'm not going to go into all the crazy details. I'm going to show you the exact slip. But that is the first leg of this is going to be the Clippers at an alt line. The next one is going to be the Trailblazers, like I mentioned. You can see even over here, the sharp edge verdict that tells you 4 out of 5 line items. It even tells you 4 out of 5 data sets are in convergence, meaning that they're very strong going towards Portland. You can see they started at a 7.5. They're currently at a 3.5. So they're getting closer to the pick'em. And like I said, the Spurs are coasting. Now, again, guys, the 2 teams is going to be the Clippers and Portland. I'm going to show you the exact slip, but I wanted to show you something I started realizing that is very, very important. I'm going to talk about it very quickly. In this ProfitX exchange, we actually have Kalshi market here. We also have Poly market here, and now we have ProfitX. So we're literally tracking the sharks. We're tracking the whales. And what's crazy, what I'm starting to notice is that a lot of people, what they're doing is that they start putting their money into the underdogs. It seems like that's the major thing that I'm noticing is that the heaviest money is actually going in on the underdogs. And the reason I believe this is happening is the public, they literally throw in their money at the plus money and they're trying to double down their money. So they'll take the risk and say, hey, I'll put in $10,000, for example. Let me show you an example. So right here, it's saying $19.9 million is open today. So you can literally go on ProfitX and place these bets against all these people. So let me show you what I was talking about. You know how I was saying that the Nuggets have something very strong to play for, and the Grizzlies are done, and they have a bunch of injuries. Well, why is 98% of the money coming in on the Grizzlies? You can see $38,950 is available. You can go and place this bet today, right now, against the Grizzlies, and they'll take your bet. And then you go over here on the Nuggets, there's only $708 available, meaning if you wanted to go. So this gets a little confusing, but basically where the heavy money is at, 98% of the money is on the Grizzlies side. Again, look over here. The Bucks, 96% of the money, and Mavericks, 85% of the money. If you look at what I was saying, basically all 3 of these teams are eliminated. So answer me this question, okay? This is what I'm starting to notice, like I said. If Grizzlies are eliminated, the Bucks are eliminated, and the Mavericks are eliminated, why do they have 80+% of the money on their side? And the reason is because they're taking that spread at a plus 20 or a plus 22 or a plus 15, whatever it is. And, they're taking the risk saying, I'll take that plus 20, whatever, and make the money back. So anyways, to me, that just blew my mind. That's crazy to me that I'm starting to notice that across all of them. Polymarket, Kalshi, and ProfitX. The heaviest money is usually on the underdog. And that's why, if you ever heard the term fade the public, this is the reason. It looks like they just throw their money out there and hope for the best. So anyways, take that for what it is. I'm starting to track all this stuff, so we're going to get better and better as time goes on. Now, the different set of circumstances is that the line move is actually in alignment with what is going on. That's why it says sharp signal right here. So that's where I got the Portland Trailblazers and the Magic. You can see the Magic are over here. It does say that the line is shifting in their favor. This one says reverse line move. This one says sharp. And then it matches 3 different data sets with Kalshi and all this stuff. So that's different from what I was just saying. This is actually a sharp signal. And that's why I did the research, and it looks very good. So I'm actually, like I said, taking Magic. I'm taking Portland. I'm taking it on different things like that. So here's the play, guys. Portland Trailblazers plus 13.5. Clippers plus 15.5. If you appreciate these breakdowns, make sure you subscribe. Please share this video if you know other people that like this. I really do appreciate you all that leave comments and like my videos. Thank you so much. Let's get to 5,000 subscribers.